Martin, I want to follow up on something that Andrea said because I think it's so important that your father, I'm sure your father would be the first to say, don't lionize me. Don't worship me. Just learn from what I've done and continue the battle. And we so lionize people after they're gone. And for good reason, we've lionized your father. But I think it would be great for you to explain how tough it was for your father, even that last year. He wasn't radical enough for the radicals. He wasn't conservative enough for the moderate whites. He was speaking out in Vietnam, so we lost the whites. He kept his back turned on violence. So a lot of the Black Power movement moved away from him, and he lived an isolated, lonely year that last year, and yet he kept carrying that cross. Tell us about that final year.
You know, you're absolutely correct. Most people don't realize, they assume that he was always loved and revered. Quite frankly, the last few years of his life, he was a marked man. And particularly on April 4th, 1967, 1 year from the date that he was killed, where he delivered a sermon at the Riverside Church about the Vietnam War and why he opposed the war. Not just opposing it, but talking about what constructively could have been done to avert the war itself and how we needed to move from that particular point. So the whole nation, the civil rights community, those who had always supported him, everyone turned against him. So he was in a very lonely and dark place. So it was not, and if you did polling, over 2/3 of the people were against what he was talking about. But he endured anyway because his faith was with God. He knew that what he was doing was not necessarily for man. And he had to stand up for justice, for righteousness, for truth, knowing that God would be with him, even if every man, every woman abandoned him. And many did. But he continued to do what was in his heart. And as a result, yes, it tragically did lead to his death. He wasn't killed, by the way, just because he was talking about riding in the front of the bus. He was killed because he was talking about a radical redistribution of wealth in our nation. And ironically, today, 50 plus years later, we're talking about a basic guaranteed income, which is what he was talking about, a living wage. We are still trying to get the minimum wage raised in some cases. But all of these things are what got him killed. But he was willing to give his life for what he believed in. He conquered the love of wealth and the fear of death. And that is quite interesting because when you do that, you're almost virtually unstoppable. When you do not care about wealth and when you're not afraid to die. I think Dad demonstrated that to all of us.
Andrea, how much is this day also about Coretta Scott King and her contribution to the MLK legacy and to where we are today?
Well, let's be clear that there wouldn't be a Martin Luther King holiday if it weren't for Coretta Scott King. And when you think about what she accomplished, not only as a mother, but as a single mother, the fact that we have this day that we are reflecting on Martin Luther King, Coretta Scott King went and met with every single member of Congress and Senate over a 15-year period, I believe. This is something that she worked for. This is something that she organized. This is something that she committed her life to, that Martin Luther King would not be a slogan on a shirt.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.